Hey, welcome back! Today I want to go over a poem, or a song, at the end of Twelfth Night. I think I've already read this song once before on my YouTube channel, but this time I'm going to go through it and break it down for you. It's one of the more popular songs from Shakespeare, and it's referenced many times. In fact, Shakespeare even does a reprise of it later on in King Lear. In order to understand it, it's important to recognize that this song comes as a kind of epilogue to the play Twelfth Night. Most of the comedies have an epilogue, or a closing speech, that a main character says, which helps to accomplish a couple things. Number one, it offers a kind of apology for the play. Well, if you didn't like it, we're sorry. It's a kind of self-deprecating speech a little bit. And it also gives a chance for one of the main characters to call for applause from the audience. So in this case, it's a little bit untraditional. Rather than a speech, which does those things, it's a song. So let's look at the beginning. The first stanza says, "When that I was and a little tiny boy, with a hey, ho, the wind and the rain, a foolish thing was but a toy, for the rain it raineth every day." And we'll see that there are recurring lines over and over and over. The refrain of, "with a hey, ho, the wind and the rain," and "for the rain it raineth every day," punctuate each stanza, with the exception, notably, of the last stanza. Those repeated lines add to the musical quality of the song, and also keep the image of rain in the forefront throughout the entire song. So rain feels symbolic here, right? Rain happens in literature when someone is being purified or something is being cleansed. But rain also establishes a very somber mood, so one might see rain in a funeral scene, for instance. Rain is uncomfortable. It is a blessing because it allows for the growth of crops, but it is also unpleasant to stand in. And it also depends to some extent on what kind of rain we're talking about. Notice that the repeated line says, "the wind and the rain." So this isn't just replenishing rain, but it is a rain that kind of whips at you through the wind. Therefore, it has more to do with discomfort. And perhaps the rain here is really about the problems of life that keep kind of just coming down on you. That particular reading is reinforced by the rest of the words in this song. Notice also the first stanza starts out with, "When that I was and a little tiny boy." So we begin at the beginning of life, and it was raining really hard at the beginning of my life. And line 3, "A foolish thing was but a toy." So remember, this is Festa singing this song, and he is a fool or a jester. And so he's going to play around with the language of fools. The word fool in Shakespeare also has several other meanings as well. It can be a sexual innuendo, or it can have something to do with someone who makes poor decisions, or it can be someone who is a little crazy, or it can be just a term of endearment for someone who is kind of small and pitiful. In this case, a foolish thing was but a toy. So a foolish thing is something of little value, or maybe something that you probably shouldn't be putting your time and energy into. But in this case, it's not that big of a deal. It's not a big problem. A foolish thing is but a toy. Is it possible that a foolish thing could be a problem that you've encountered? Or it could be something that you get yourself into that you probably shouldn't? But ultimately, it doesn't matter that much. It's just a toy. You're just a child. There's still innocence there. The rain is coming down. It's the problems of life, but they don't seem like that big of a deal. We get to the second stanza, and things change a little bit. "But when I came to man's estate, with a hey, ho, the wind and the rain, against knaves and thieves men shut their gate, for the rain it raineth every day." So we continue the imagery of rain, those problems of life coming down on us, but now we're grown up some. We were children at first, but now we're men. "When I came to man's estate." So not just coming into manhood, but into the responsibility of being a man. The managing your life and your property and all the things you have to take care of when you're an adult. We've gone from childhood, where everything's, kind of easy, it's just a toy, to adulthood, where we actually have to take responsibility for things. And it says, "Against knaves and thieves men shut their gate." So I have to take care of my property, I have to guard what I have. But those problems still keep coming. And they become a little bit heavier now that I'm older and have to deal with them in a more serious way. So we move into the next stanza, and it says, "But when I came, alas, to wive, with a hey, ho, the wind and the rain, by swaggering could I never thrive, for the rain it raineth every day." So we move from just adulthood to now marriage, which is an important part of adulthood. And notice that as he comes to marriage, he says, alas, which is a sigh of woe. Oh no, I'm married now. So clearly this is a bit of a sarcastic approach to marriage, and he's not being not talking about it in the sense of something happy. And suddenly I have more problems in marriage. I have new responsibilities, new things to carry, and I can no longer just sort of push my way through life. I can't just swagger my way out of things anymore, because now my wife will keep me in check. And that rain just keeps coming down. Stanza 4. But when I came unto my beds, with a hey-ho, the wind and the rain, with tosspots still had drunken heads, for the rain it raineth every day. Coming unto my beds. What does that mean? Well, there's multiple interpretations of the word bed. First of all, a bed can be a place where you lie down to die. It can also be a place where you lie down to rest. It can also be a place where you lie down to be intimate with your wife. But notice how the other line in this stanza says, with tosspots still had drunken heads. Drunkenness drives one to bed. But it is certainly a shirking of responsibility. And if this guy is also married, he may have a little bit of an issue with his wife over this as well. There's at least the hint that he's going to bed because he's worn out and he's probably made himself drunk in the midst of this. So it's not a peaceful kind of rest or renewal, like sleep might be, but it's more of the drunken kind of rest, which may be because he's been beaten down by his problems throughout this entire song. They just keep feeling heavier, and now he's trying to find escape from them, but it's not particularly working. The rain is still raining every day. And the song concludes in Twelfth Night by saying, a great while ago the world begun, with a hey-ho, the wind and the rain. But that's all one, our play is done, we'll strive to please you every day. So notice how the final line changes, which makes it feel very done. It's a nice conclusion. Let's look at the two main lines that continue to change throughout the play in this stanza. A great while ago the world begun. So we're thinking back to the very beginning of things. We started at the beginning of life and we've kind of moved through life, noticed how our problems keep weighing us down. As life goes on, life just gets harder. And so at the end, we're sort of looking back in retrospect over it all, and seeing how, we've come a long way, but it's been hard the whole way. And then the third line of that stanza says, but that's all one. When I say that's all one, I mean, that's all well and good. Okay, great. Now our play is done. So again, here's the epilogue aspect of the song. Okay, well, we've come to the end of our play. It is what it is. You just gotta take it. Just like the rest of life, life is full of burdens, life is full of rain, you just sludge on through. And then he concludes with, again, another epilogue kind of line, and we'll strive to please you every day. We'll keep working at it, we'll keep, offering you these entertainments, something to help you through your life, something to make you laugh and carry the burden a little lighter. We could compare this song, say, to the speech by Jacques in As You Like It, where he's talking about the stages of life. This song feels like it kind of follows the stages of life some too, and shows how, every part of life has its own trials, every part of life has its own burdens. It's kind of a funny conclusion when we've just been looking at the idea of marriages at the end of a comedy. I want to also note briefly that there is another stanza to this song which shows up in another Shakespeare play, in King Lear, as I mentioned. In the middle of Act 3 of King Lear, when Lear and his fool are lost in a storm, things have gone very, very badly, and it's worth going back and looking at the whole context of that. But the fool begins to sing, and he sings, he that has and a little tiny wit, with a hey-ho, the wind and the rain, must make content with his fortune's fit, though the rain it raineth every day. And so instead of being about a little tiny boy who's just, dealing with problems as if they were toys, this is someone who has, just the slightest bit of sense. And the fool here is emphasizing both his own foolishness in being a fool, but also in Lear's foolishness. The fool becomes a foil for Lear over and over again throughout the play. Lear has done something incredibly foolish in his treatment of his daughters at the beginning of this play, and the consequences of that are heavy. And they're bearing the brunt of those consequences right now, being lost in a storm. And so the fool is saying, even if you have the slightest bit of sense, you've just got to deal with your problems as they come. You must make content with his fortune's fit. You get what's coming. And since Lear has brought these problems upon his head with his own foolishness, you have to endure your problems. with the wit that you have. Again, the rain, the weight of everything, it feels very heavy. And in this context, we get another look at this song, but in a more tragic vision. I saw a recent version of Macbeth starring Denzel Washington, which was really cool, using the old Germanic expressionism kind of style. And they use a little bit of this song in there as well. To interesting effect, a very creepy effect. So that's my take on the song. I'd love to hear if you have any other insights into it. Feel free to put them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.